Kia ora, good evening. Invercargill police have arrested a man following the robbery of the Tay Street night and day store at the weekend. The 23-year-old unemployed Invercargill accused appeared in the court today on a robbery charge following the robbery of the store at around 1 a.m. yesterday. Police say the alleged offender confronted the female shop assistant and pushed her before taking a quantity of tobacco products and leaving. He then ran south on Lindisfarne Street towards Tweed Street with two associates. The two associates have been spoken to, but inquiries are continuing, and anyone who may have seen suspicious behaviour or who has information is asked to contact police. State Highway 96 near Mataura was partially closed for 4 hours today after a trailer came off a truck, blocking the road. The Bond Contracts truck was carrying a container of refuse when the trailer came off and with its load. A crane from Invercargill was brought in to get the trailer back on its wheels. The container remains roadside. Speed is not thought to have been a factor, and police are awaiting a report from the commercial vehicle inspector who attended the scene. Business confidence is at its highest level in 19 months. That's despite spreading drought, concern about housing affordability and a high New Zealand dollar, according to BNZ's March Confidence Survey. That survey shows 41% of businesses are confident about the year ahead, compared with 32% in February. Construction activity is strengthening and residential real estate remains buoyant, although a shortage of listings continues. Improvement continues in forestry, but there's substantial caution in the agricultural sector due to concerns about drought conditions. Southland could be seeing the start of a long dry with river levels low and rain scarce. Northern Southland is the worst affected area at this stage, with the Mataura and Oriti rivers also low. With no relief rainfall forecast this week, low river levels have triggered consent cuts to some farmers. Some who utilise river water have had access cut as part of their consent agreement with Environment Southland, and they expect more to be affected this week. The driest looking areas lie between Gore and Lumsden. Environment Southland hydrologist Chris Jenkins is monitoring the South's river situation.
Worst affected is the Aparima River in the upper portion. Aparima at Dunrobin is at about a 1 in 18 year low flow. In fact, just looking at our records, it's the lowest level we've recorded since 1971. The Hamilton Burn, which is a tributary of the Aparima, is at about a 1 in 9 year low flow, so things are very low. But that could have been much worse if we hadn't had that large rain event at the start of January. We've had an extremely dry December and February, so we could have been like the rest of the country if we hadn't had these large rainfalls at the start of January.
So this has triggered consents. Is that correct?
That's right. As I understand it, there are about 30 consents at the moment that are affected by these low river levels, and throughout the week we're expecting a few more of those cut-offs to be met. So
how much rain do we need to alleviate this problem?
Well, we probably want some good steady rain for at least a couple of days, maybe 50 millimetres over a couple of days would alleviate the river situation a bit, but they would quickly drop again, so we really would like to have a long sustained wetting for that.
So the aquifers are reasonably in good condition at the moment?
Yes, surprisingly, aquifers are not as low as we would have expected, though, at sort of moderate to low levels. The ones that are connected to rivers are lower.
So if how long may it be if we don't have rain and the rivers continue to drop that will have an effect on the aquifers?
Well, it is affecting some of them now, but we're expecting possibly in the next week without any rainfall, and we haven't had any significant stuff predicted until perhaps a weekend. We could be looking at most of the rivers in Southland getting to like 1 in 10 year low flows, and the following maybe into 1 in 25 year low flows.
A new unit to clear the backlog of issues relating to NovaPay started work today. Minister responsible for NovaPay, Stephen Joyce, says the expanded NovaPay Backlog Clearance Unit has the express purpose of clearing the backlog of work relating to previous NovaPay pay periods. That work includes the correction of errors, salary assessments, calculation and recovery of overpayments from previous pay periods. He says the goal is to have the entire backlog reduced to a business as usual level level within 3 months. School staff last week picketed outside MPs' offices around the country over frustrations with the pay system, which was introduced 6 months ago. After the break, why a remote archaeological site on Stewart Island could soon have legal protection. Welcome back. An archaeological survey has been underway at an isolated site on Stewart Island over the past few days. That work could see the heritage site get legal protection. Sarah Bedford explains.
A remote part of Stewart Island has been the site of an archaeological survey over the past few days and could become the first protected post-1900 marine heritage site in New Zealand. Price's Inlet is a unique and significant heritage site, home to what's known as the Norwegian Whalers Base, a repair base for whaling ships from 1926 to 1932. Project Nord project manager Dr Matthew Schmidt says the project has a much longer history as well.
We know Maori occupied it because there was an artefact found here from Maori occupation. Then we know that Price had his shipbuilding base here from 1865 to 68. There was a house here in 1878. The surveyors occupied it in 1890, and now then the Norwegians came in 1926. So it's quite a long length of occupation.
The project was put forward by the New Zealand Historic Places Trust and is being undertaken by the Southland Coastal Heritage Inventory Project partners. Dr Schmidt says survey work is a chance to fill in blanks in the recorded history of the site and to undertake a marine survey.
The aim is to better understand what's here and then give it increased legal protection because it has been at risk from some fossicas, but also there's risk from natural causes as well. So the outcome will be we'll understand it, we'll get it good legal protection so people can still visit it.
Remnants of the site's whaling history are evident: propellers on the beach, ship repair artefacts, remains of buildings, and below the water sits the remains of the ship Othello, built in 1853. Marine archaeologist Andy Dodd has been working on the 40-metre long ship and surveying the underwater site.
There's quite a lot of material from the wreck which has fallen off onto the seabed, which is still identifiable, which is quite good for the age of the vessel, and it's substantially intact as well. So the whole from the bilge downwards is largely intact and together, and it's just the top decks and frames that have fallen down and out to the side.
Among those helping yesterday, around a dozen volunteers, mostly from Stewart Island. Their role a key one.
There's some bits of the site we can't see because the vegetation's grown over too much, so they're going to help us clear it all and then we can map it and photograph it.
Long-time Stewart Island resident Annette Isolt was one of those helping.
Well, Whalers Base is a place where we love to go very much anyway, and so we took the kayak today, paddled out here. It was the perfect weather for it, and being involved and able to help a bit, maybe even be able to see how the one and other old artifact turns up is very exciting.
What's learned from the project will be useful for the Southland Museum and Art Gallery.
It's extremely important. We've got a really good collection of things related to the Norwegian whaling station here. We've got a good collection of photos, artefacts. We've got an old harpoon gun from one of the whale chasers that would have been fixed up just down there. So it's quite a significant project that Matt's put together here.
It's hoped information from the survey can be used as part of an exhibition.
That comes out of this, the maps and things, will be really useful to sort of help not only preserve but to also get the public buy-in to see what's happening down here. Yeah.
Work at the base was expected to finish today, and with concerns around fossicking, it's hoped legal protection of the site could be in place by the end of the year. Sarah Bedford, South Today News.
A proposed wind farm near Bluff now has the go-ahead after an appeal was dropped. Energy 3 was granted consent to build a wind farm at Green Hills between Bluff and Invercargill last March, but was stalled after an appeal to the Environment Court. The parties have now reached an agreement by consent allowing the project to go ahead. Energy 3 Director Tom Cameron says changes include repositioning 4 of the 8 turbines and reducing their height by around 10 metres. Power produced by the turbines will be enough to supply the equivalent of just under 3,500 homes a year. More than half of Southland's dogs have now been microchipped, with Southland District Council offering free transponders to dog owners. There are more than 5,000 dogs in the district area which are required to be microchipped. Since 2010, Southland District Council has offered free microchipping, and more than half of the region's dogs are now implanted. The idea is to have dogs easily identifiable. A Dog Control Act requires that a microchip transponder be implanted in certain dogs, including those registered for the first time after July 2006. Council has started free microchipping clinics around the region for 2013. The Invercargill Rowing Club has seen huge growth in junior rower numbers following the success of local rowers at the Olympic Games last year. Following on from that, the club christened 2 new skiffs worth around $54,000 at the weekend, with youth rowers set to benefit. Club captain Joe Finley says the 2 lightweight coxed quads are well suited to youth rowers. The club decided to undertake a 2-year boat purchase program to ensure the younger rowers had the best suited equipment. It's hoped to purchase 2 lightweight double skiffs and a lightweight 8 in the next season. And that's it from news. Post-match reaction to the Highlanders' loss on the weekend. That's on Sports after the weather next. From the news team, good night.